Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Recorded live from western, north, east, south Dakota. This is the Massenomics podcast. We are the lifting podcast about nothing. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy. Tanner, you just really rolled those directions off your tongue there.
Did you see, put the emphasis in the wrong places? So it's
like the remix.
Western, north, east, south Dakota. Really confused
Really
people.
making my brain think there.
That's where we're from, of course, more specifically Aberdeen, if you're interested in that sort of thing. But we are coming to you for episode 248. We've got a special guest this week, of course. We've got a few topics before that. We're going to do sack segment, what's in the can. And then, like I said, Greg Nuckols is our special guest this episode. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about every guest we get, but I am, I shouldn't even say particularly excited, but I am particularly excited about this one with Greg.
Are you playing favorites this week, Tanner?
I'm not saying I'm playing favorites, but I really we've never had a guest that I don't enjoy and am not curious. And we have guests because we actually want to talk to them. And it's a learning and fun experience for us. But with Greg, I'm particularly interested in talking to him.
And several of our guests, about half of our guests, we have had some interactions with in the past.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of, at least conversations with Greg. We've maybe had some interactions, but not so much actual conversations.
Right. And I really enjoy their podcast that they put out and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool one. What else do we have for this episode? We got probably some pretty important topics to lead off with.
Oh, we always do.
One thing I was wondering, did you get anything cool for Christmas, Tommy?
Oh, well, maybe we should do the ads first.
Oh, gosh. Thank God you're paying attention.
I got a sheet full of advertisers for Christmas.
That's Yes, I got something good. I got coaching from Hybrid Performance Method.
There we go.
Because they're your one-stop shop for all things fitness and online coaching. Whether your goals are training related, nutrition and body composition related, or both, Hybrid has a program for you. With dedicated and experienced coaches in each strength and fitness discipline, you can rest assured that you're in the best hands possible. When you're on their site, checking out with your training and nutrition programs, you can use our discount code, and that's MASS, M-A-S-S, and it's in all caps, and it'll save you 5% off any of those memberships for the life of the membership. Visit hybridperformancemethod.com. I also got a Texas Power Bar for Christmas. In 1980, Buddy Cap set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he had ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house with the best knurling, and it was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, Massenomics, and world powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the legendary Texas Power Bar. Learn more and visit them at texaspowerbars.com. I got something from Lifting Large. Can you guess what it was? What I got for Christmas?
If you were a good boy, it was a pair of ground lock deadlift slippers.
You're right. It was ground lock deadlift slippers. Lifting Large has set a new standard for customer service within the strength world. They have live website, chat support, and speedy email responses. Lifting Large is home of the ground lock deadlift slipper, of course, and they're always in stock and ready to ship. We've got a discount code over there. It's MASS20. Use that at checkout. It'll save you 20% off all Lifting Large branded products. And mid-roll, you've got more to tell us about Lifting Large.
Oh,
brought it up last week. They've got their big sponsored strength athlete program that they've got going on where you can win a bunch of cool stuff, and we'll talk more about that later. And for Christmas, I also got, what do you think I got from SPUD Inc.?
Oh, boy.
Could be anything, really. Like
a strap of some kind, probably.
It was a strap. I won't spoil the rest. We'll talk about that more later, maybe too. The goal of SPUD Inc. straps is to make products that support sports performance and help everyone achieve their training goals. They make products that last forever, won't bust your budget, and most importantly, leave no doubt about success when everything is on the line. Check them out online at spud-inc-straps.com. Those are our sponsors.
Wow. So Christmas, Tanner, it happened.
Yeah, we did it.
Did you get anything good for Christmas?
Best thing had to have probably been Nachos Navidad from Taco John's.
It is the gift that keeps on giving.
Feliz Navidad. Hand delivered by Whiplash, the taco monkey.
Wow, that is what dreams are made of.
Yeah.
I'm jealous right now.
I really didn't have Nachos Navidad.
I'm just thinking of those Nachos Navidad.
It's those red tortilla chips that get you coming back for more.
Mm-hmm. Just kidding. The green ones too.
And the green ones, yeah. I wonder if Nachos Navidad end after Christmas or after New Year's?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think they got to still have some red and green chips they're trying to
Right.
phase out.
Yeah. They start to phase them out after Christmas, but they're not really out of stock until after New Year's, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
That's got to be it. But did you get any, or did you give anything in particular cool or anything like
well,
that?
I mean,
I guess it's more about the giving than the receiving.
It is more about the giving. This is my first year being a dad. So now I'm at the point where
that's what I was going to ask you about.
Christmas has changed, and it's much more exciting seeing like, oh, my kid's getting all this cool shit now. Like,
yeah. That's true.
That is like, it is crazy how quick that changes. It's like, oh, you bought this for my baby? That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is like such a different way in just how your brain thinks and sees Christmas.
For sure.
So that was for sure the biggest change. But
yeah,
I mean, otherwise I did get some cool stuff. I got some nice clothes, and we recently just bought a king size bed. So we got a really nice set of sheets for the bed and everything.
And you went straight up king, not California king. We actually have had this discussion.
We have had this discussion. Yeah. Okay. Did you know? So
I don't think I knew this and understood this well until you.
A lot of people don't get that a queen and a king are the same exact length. Just a king is wider.
Yep.
And a king is almost a completely square mattress. It's only a few inches, and I think it's the width. It's only a few inches short of being, or a few inches narrow of being completely square.
Right.
But the California king is where you get the added length in.
But it's not as wide.
I think it's as wide.
Oh, someone told me it's not as you get more length, but you sacrifice some width over the
dumb.
king.
I feel like
that's what I heard. So I don't know.
I'm not going to look at it.
And I don't know that that's true either. But that
makes no sense to me. That's so stupid. Because that's actually how it works.
We're moving, and in the process, we're going to buy a new bed in the process, and we're going to get a king. And then I said, well, really, we should get a California king. It's even bigger. And someone said, yeah, but on the California king, it's longer, but it's actually not as wide as the king. I don't know if that's right. Never bothered to look.
Well, Tanner.
Are we going
the official show? I said I'm not going to look, and then the first thing I did was grab my phone. So
it's an interesting thought. If that's the case, I'm like, why? That's insanity. I can't believe they forced you to give up width.
Okay, according to this, a queen bed is, I'm assuming these are inches. A queen bed is 80 inches long by 60 inches wide.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I usually go width by length. So 60 by 80 is the queen size bed. A king bed is 76
by 80.
By 80. Okay. So we still have the standard length of 80.
Like you said, just 4 inches shy of a square.
4 inches shy of a square. The California king now, you're right, is 72 inches wide.
Right, you're sacrificing 4 inches of the width.
Yeah, so you're using 4 in the width to gain 4 in the length.
And what is more important to you? 4 more inches of width? Or
Tanner,
4 more
I'm
inches of
6'1",
length?
you're what, 6'2", 6'3"?
Yeah.
I guess.
Do your feet hang off the bed?
I mean, they have before, but that's because I'm in like an odd position while I'm sleeping. I think I would go with the extra width in this case.
I would go with extra, and we're both tall people, you know, like you said.
If you were like 6'8",
if you're 6'8", maybe even if you're 6'6", I can see it more. But me about 6'3", the length of a bed has never really been an issue for me.
No, and even if my feet do hang off, it's
right. But it's when you are married and sleep with your spouse, the width is where the money's at. That's what you need.
That's what's been blowing my mind is there's times where the dog,
hello over there.
I have a dog that's like 85 pounds. There's times where he gets into the bed and I don't even know he's in the bed now.
Yeah.
Like there's that much room. And then occasionally, whether it's like early morning and the baby wakes up and we might bring him into our room. There's been times where there's been a baby and a dog and my wife in the bed, and I don't know who isn't in the bed. It's a totally different way of sleeping.
If California King was just as wide and just longer, I was like, okay, we're getting a California King. I just want the biggest one.
Yeah.
But then when someone said that, I'm like, ooh, I don't think I want to give up that width for extra length.
I never looked at it that close before because that didn't make sense to me. It seems like
it make sense?
You already have this width settled on.
Right.
Let's just go longer.
Right.
Wow. I did not expect to learn something so profound in this podcast.
Right.
So then what about you? Did you get anything cool for Christmas?
I think it's the kid thing too. And as you know, my kids are older and like really enjoy opening presents. I am most excited when I know we got them cool stuff. I'm like, you almost can't wait. I'm like that's like the kid in you isn't like to open your presents. It's like, let's get to these presents because it's like going to be pretty fun and exciting when they open stuff that you've tried to keep a secret and they know they're going to be jacked about. Like last year I got my son a go-kart and he didn't know anything about it. So, and we did like the garage unveiling thing and he didn't know about it. So that was way fun, like way more fun than me getting stuff, but I did get cool stuff. I got Big thing is I got some new socks and some new underwear, and as like an adult that doesn't buy those things for myself, I got Buck Naked. Have you ever had that brand?
I have not actually. I've heard good things about
good underwear. And then I like Under Armour socks. You have Under Armour socks on too. And I got some more of those, and I like that. I did get a record player though, and I'm kind of a record
I did see
guy
a
now.
snap of that. Yeah,
and several records. I started my collection with like 12, and a lot of ones I've really like. I'm kind of a record guy now.
Yeah, it's they're
even
kind of
just-
making a comeback, Tanner.
Even just in like a week of it. So here's my thing on music. I've basically never downloaded music. And like, because when I was young, I liked CDs. I liked to buy CDs. I probably didn't buy as much as some people, but I enjoyed getting CDs and getting the music and having
opening it and reading it and going through.
So it is the physical media thing. I can tell with this record thing, I'm immediately like, I like the physical media of music so much better. When I put the record on and have the record album cover in case, and I can look through and read, like, some of them are, explaining what their thought process was on making the songs. Some of them just have the lyrics and like just the different art and stuff that goes with them. I literally have been sitting there at the table, like putting my record on and just sitting there and listening to the full record. And I'm like, I love this.
Yeah. And so, you touched on a lot of things there.
Yeah.
And the big one is probably it goes from being a passive thing that happens in the background to something that you're more actively engaged in. And we've maybe talked about this on the podcast a long time ago, but I was like in the late, what do you say, the aughts to the, through the early teens.
Right.
I bought a shit ton of CDs. I was buying many, many CDs every month because I loved music. I loved keeping up with what was going on. I didn't want to pay to download songs through iTunes just because it's like, well, I don't want to pay $10 for an album and just have not get any of the cool artwork and stuff with it. And I would just rip them to my computer anyways and have them. But buying them, you're fairly involved in it. You put money into it. So you're like, okay, well, even if I don't like this, I'm going to listen to it several times. Now, since like 2014, 13, I've been on Spotify.
Yeah.
And as great as it is, because I can listen to any song in the world whenever I want. Now there's a thing of like, well, I listened to it once and it's like, it didn't really catch my attention. I just never go back to it again because there's 10,000 other things to listen to. And so I find myself just being so much like, I don't spend as much time trying to find new stuff. I'm way more passive about the whole experience. And so you have a very valid point there, Tanner.
And I've never had a Spotify membership or whatever. And it's weird. It's this mental thing in my head. I can't what does a Spotify membership cost? Like $10 a month, or what's the best one cost? Like where you can listen to whatever the hell you want to, whenever
I think it's
you want
10. We do, so you can do, actually, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
A family is $15 a month and that's 5 people, unlimited music for 5 people.
So I'm first of all, I'd say that's probably a very good deal. But in my mind, I'm like, can't do it because I don't like listening to music off of like, I don't want to spend $15 and what I get is like stuff on my phone. Whereas I'm not saying this makes sense. It's the process in my head though. I'm like, I can go spend $30 on a record, which is 2 months of any music you want ever. And I can justify it way easier because I'm like, yeah, but I have this record that I think is cool now. I know. And it is like a weird mental thing.
Yeah. That's what I remember in the late or like around 2010 being like, oh, I'll never be a part of a music subscription thing. I'll just keep paying, my $100 a month or whatever it is that I pay on CDs because I get to keep those CDs. And now I'm like, oh, it's such a pain in the ass to get those. No device even comes with a CD, so I can't even rip them anymore. So like, now, but also though, a lot of records also come with the download code.
Yeah, they almost all. Everyone I open it falls out, and I'm like, whatever.
So that you have that to put on your computer too. So like you're not actually out anything there.
Right. The other people, I don't know what the science is behind this, but people say, it sounds better on a record.
Yeah.
I don't know if the science supports that or not, but I can just anecdotally, I don't know if it sounds better, but it's just because it's part of the experience. I feel like it sounds better. Where
I think it's the analog thing of like the first time you see like a record go around and music comes out, it's like, that makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah.
Like, how is a needle on a little piece of something make noise? That makes zero
a piece
sense.
of grooved vinyl. Yeah. And it is like, even the record player was an experience. It was a Crosley is the brand, and had to literally put it together like the counterweight on the stylus that has the needle on it, like have to balance it. And you want to get like this one, it's so many grams per pressure that you want to get actually down onto the vinyl. I'm like, man, this is just so much different. Like than when you buy a CD player and just like, you know, it just
absolutely is. Now you'll start getting into having the right cartridge for the,
right.
you know, all that stuff. And then you're going to be updating your speakers, Tanner.
Well, see, I'm never, and I don't think I will because I just don't have that refined of an audio. Like that's not the part of it
that's get to the point of diminishing returns there.
And that's not the part. It's more is just the straight up it being a physical media thing. And I think it's really cool. I'm, at least for now, I'm pretty hooked on it. So that's my thing.
Yeah, that is it's a nice hobby.
It's getting me more into music that I like for the first time in years where I'm like, I really like music now all of a sudden.
So you're saying, are we going to see a record player in the gym here soon? Is that what you're getting?
That's probably not the exact perfect environment. See, that's where things all still have their places. And,
they do.
A thing for every place and a place for everything. And like, no. But in the right environment, though, I do think a record player is the cat's meow.
Yeah. Yep. That can be very cool.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
That's about it.
In the world of media, Tanner. So 2 things here. This actually ties back. I now know a couple episodes ago, we made a mention about a chess clock.
Yeah.
And saying I have no idea what it is.
Right.
I now know what they are.
Okay.
Because of the show Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Oh, okay. I'm not aware of it.
Do you have Netflix at the moment?
Yes. Yep.
It's the one, if you're ever going through, it's the girl that has like the red hair. It's like short red hair. Anyways, it's only like a 7-episode series. It's pretty good. I'm not done. I have 2 episodes left. My wife and I both really liked it so far. She's the orphan that turns into the chess prodigy, like in the 60s. I feel like it's not the most original story. No, I don't think so. I think it's just a guy wrote a book and then they turned it into something. But I would recommend it. I did learn though, if I understand it correctly from the show, is that when you hit the chess clock that you see got people playing with, there is usually a time limit. So when you hit it, you're starting your opponent's clock, right. So that there's only so much time
starts running.
Their time starts running, which does make sense. I obviously don't play hardly any chess, so I didn't understand that concept, but I do now. So
that reminds me, we have a can segment.
Oh yeah, let's get to that.
So this is a true what's in the can segment where I brought it this time. So you're gonna have to close your eyes, Tommy, and guess what we're dealing with today. And when I say it's a true what's in the can segment, there is a variable there that is slightly outside of that description, but you will experience. Well, you will have an idea here in short order. Just 1 second, and this actually requires a special tool. You can't know what it is right here, but I'm opening the tool right now, and I'm going to use it.
Okay, is it a Capri Sun straw that you're poking through the pouch, Tanner?
What's in the Capri Sun packet? Okay, and here is your beverage, Beveragino.
Oh, okay. So we have a bottle.
Yeah. So what I was using was the Massenomics Lift Hard, Live Easy bottle opener, as can be seen on our YouTube feed of this. I opened mine as well.
So I'm saying carbonated water of some kind because I'm getting hit with some very, very faint flavor.
Yes.
I don't think I'm getting hit with any flavor.
So you're saying you got a bottle?
I think I have a bottle of carbonated water. It's got to be just, it has to be carbonated, just plain water of some kind, right? Right?
Yes.
Can I look?
Yep.
What do we got here? Whoa. Topo Chico?
And this is, if you remember from the Garrett Fear episode, he said his favorite is Topo Chico.
Oh,
and we have this often at home. Yeah.
Wow, I've never seen this before.
So you're basically spot on. It's Topo Chico. You did forget that it has minerals in it. It's Topo Chico mineral carbonated water.
Wow.
Straight from, imported from, special for the podcast, from Monterrey, Mexico.
Amazing. Where do you get this at?
From my wife. Is where I get it from, and beyond that,
She's the supplier.
I'm not sure how things work. I just open the refrigerator and things are there. Sometimes there's less things, and sometimes there's more things, and
sometimes there's new things.
I don't know if the refrigerator just makes the things, or like there's a part of the process
that pushes new stuff out all the time.
There's a part of the process that I'm not 100%.
Well, I can tell you mine doesn't work that way, but Well, this is refreshing. I will give it that.
So how do you think it compares to a LaCroix Pure?
I think so. This is going to sound really like we're really splitting hairs here.
Yeah.
And it could also be the bottle.
That this has a flavor?
No,
that's hitting you,
I
or-
think to me, I think the LaCroix feels a tad more like crisp or bubbly possibly than this.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Like, yeah, I think it has a little bit more of a fizz carbonation. The LaCroix does, I think.
How many
I would
JD
still
and
give
Power
this a
Associates?
solid. Well, this is one. It's like, do you rate it on a scale because it's unflavored? But
Yeah, it's not certainly not a flavor scale.
There's nothing offensive about this. It's good and refreshing. I'd probably give it like a 3.5 ish.
Yeah, I would. I think if you were having like a mixed drink with something like this, could be a good good addition to the party.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep, that's good stuff.
That is good. Tanner. Did you have? Oh,
We also have a sack segment.
We got all types of stuff talking because I just remembered something else I was going to discuss.
Well,
This
do you
week.
want to talk about that?
I
first?
can. I can make it quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
I went to the doctor this week, Tanner.
Oh, what kind of doctor?
The doctor. No, I've had allergies for quite a while now. I think we've even talked about it. Like,
seasonal allergies. You're saying, or
even
like food
just-
allergies.
I don't know. Like, I didn't really. That was the thing. Like, I know I
Yeah.
for sure had seasonal allergies. Like, there would be times where I would like get in actual sneezing fits where, you start sneezing and you can just feel the temperature of your body just raising because every sneeze somehow does that weird thing to you. But
Right.
So finally, after like me complaining about it and also my wife being in the medical field, being
she's
like,
like,
no,
"Go."
there's doctors that handle this.
Yeah.
And I would never take the time to set up an appointment on my own,
Right.
but she did set up an appointment with an allergy specialist for me to go. And they did the whole thing where they poke you in the back with
all the different things to decide what do you react to.
36 different things and run you through the list.
Don't tell me you're allergic to carbonated water.
It's a good thing I took my allergy medicine.
Show is really gonna have to take a turn here.
Not too many major surprises. In recent years, I've noticed that somehow I became very allergic to cats, and that did confirm it. That yes, I am in fact pretty allergic to cats. Dust mites are crazy bad for me, I guess.
Okay.
So that's one that I guess you cut down carpet, dust
Okay,
things
yeah.
like that.
Right.
It's just like, okay, you kind of change your lifestyle or you just change your environment to help those things.
Yeah.
Luckily, I live and work all in the same place, so I
Right.
have a lot of control over my environment. So
Right.
that one's not too bad to handle. And now I can be aware of what that is. Other than that, just a lot of like of the grasses and pollens, things like that. Probably
Yeah.
things that most people have,
Yeah.
nothing too in the process that was like, whoa, what is this about?
Yeah.
But the one that was probably the most surprising is they tried to tell me that I have a minor allergy to legumes like peanuts. And I was like, really? Because I feel like I eat a fair amount of peanut butter and I don't think that that's an issue. But I have had some gut issues bothering
Right.
me off and on for like the past years.
So are you going to cut out the
So
peanut butter?
I'm going to try and just see like, all right, what? So then, their recommendation is basically to do a diet that eliminates everything. It's like, well, I'm not going to, that's not realistic. I'm not going to
I'm
do that
familiar
forever,
with that.
but-
I've seen people that have done that.
but in the short term, I am going to just
and
try
then you
some
slowly
of that.
reintroduce things.
So that's what I'm going to try in the short term, just to like do like, hey, all right, let's clean this up and see how good do I feel if I'm making a conscious effort on this.
Yep.
And then if I start adding some things back in, is it like, okay, yep, if I have a bunch of peanut butter in the morning, does that actually like ruin my day or what's going on here? So
Right.
one of those things of just slowly learning how your body works,
Yep,
Tanner.
yep.
31,
It only I was gonna
31
say-
years in and still finding
Yep.
something new.
Yep. No, that's interesting.
But it was one of those things where you leave the doctor and because like I still can't figure it out. It seems like insurance doesn't really cover like
Nobody knows.
you pay like just so much money.
You're just hoping it's all going to
You
work
just
out.
pay so much money and like you walk away and then it's like, oh, actually insurance doesn't really cover much of this at all.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
It's like, dang, what was that? What am I paying that every month for?
I guess I found out some answers, but I did pay a lot of money. I'm not sure if it warranted the amount of money I paid to get the answers
Right.
I get. So
That
I just-
seems like how like a significant portion of doctor's visit ends with
even in a year where we have met and exceeded our deductible, somehow these things don't go into that category. It's just like there's always someone that's going to win in this scenario, and it's not you.
It's not us. Yeah, that's true. Okay, we do have a sack segment.
Yeah, we are burning through the things today, Tanner.
Yes. First item in the sack. I'll hand you one of those there.
Oh.
And here is a t-shirt. Or wait, is that a long sleeve t-shirt? I didn't even notice these were long sleeve t-shirts.
This is, in fact, a shirt with sleeves on it, Tanner.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That changes the game.
It does. Changes everything.
Yeah. So these are long sleeve tees from our good friend, Mr. Tom Callis.
Yes.
Over at Callis Barbell in Illinois.
Working class lifter.
Yeah, working class lifter, and he's got the bearded skull with the hard hat on it.
Uh-huh. Did I hold that up good enough for the camera?
Yeah.
I think we both
We got that and the stickers, and then I already hung the banner that he sent.
Yeah, banner looks great in the gym.
Yeah. And I like, this is a cool logo.
Yeah.
I think if I know right, his tattoo artist designed this for him.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be believable.
And he has this tattooed. I mean, I think I even talked about that recently or something. But
sweet.
Yeah, so that's from Big Tom. We probably should have Tom.
Yeah, we probably
Callis
should.
on the podcast at some
actually
point.
kind of like shocking to me now that I think about it. We haven't had him on yet.
Yeah, we have had Tom Finn, but not Tom Callis yet.
Yeah.
So we'll have to
And
do
also
that soon.
his good friend Dan Bell as well.
That's true.
Several people in his circle.
Dan was on the Let's Get Stupid podcast here this last week, and they were talking. We come up in conversation.
we do seem to come up in conversation a bit.
And they were talking about the silicone pint cups because Huck also has those, and Huck did have those before we had silicone pint cups.
Yeah.
But I did tell him, like, after we had tested them out and we're like, oh yeah, we need these. I had messaged Finn and said that, yeah, we're stealing that. We're going to have those now too.
It's ours now.
So they're laughing about that. and then Huck Finn sells his shirts with, you can pay extra to get the Huck Finn cut. Mm-hmm. And they were saying that we're going to copy them and pay extra to get the South Dakota cut, the Northeast South Dakota cut. I don't know what the exact cut is.
I'm not sure. I was trying to decide, are we going to cut off the bottom or are we just going to cut off one sleeve? We could either do crop tops or a single sleeve.
You can pay more and we'll cut one sleeve off. So that's our sack segment. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you. I always said, Tanner, we should get a long sleeve. I do like to lift in a long sleeve.
We've never
it's one of those things where a sweatshirt sometimes is a little too
heavy.
much,
but
a long sleeve is kind of just right.
Right. Yeah. I think maybe we should do that someday.
But now it's like, it'll be too late for.
Right.
I don't want to come up with a long sleeve in the summertime.
Right.
Even now, we just have so many things in the pipeline,
We've
Tanner.
got a lot of things in the pipeline.
We were doing some 2021 planning the other day, and 2021's looking pretty good already, guys.
With everything that's gone on, 2021 is going to be one hell of a year. With everything that went on in 2020,
and with everything that's going to be going on in 2021, it is going to be a year. That is for sure. We're calling it right now.
It's going to be pretty uncertain times, but
it's going to be one thing that's certain. We're going to keep this train going.
Yeah, that's right.
Should we hop into ads here?
Yeah, I think so. Then we'll get our guest on the horn after that.
All right. The Massenomics podcast is brought to you by SPUD Inc. and the Cold War Puller. From Russia with love, the SPUD Inc. team has brought you a new way to do an old exercise using our Ukrainian deadlift rig. Tanner, I just thought of something I want to talk about. We'll have to say it for after. This is a preview. Hopefully people aren't listening. But it's for after our interview.
Okay.
I almost have to write it down. God,
we'll forget. I promise.
we will forget. I want to talk about World's Strongest Man
So we'll try and remember.
We'll try to remember that.
Yeah,
okay. I had to say it, or we would remember. Anyways, back to our fine folks at SPUD Inc. The SPUD Inc. team has brought you a new way to do an old exercise using the Ukrainian deadlift rig. The Ukrainian deadlifts are a great way to build your deadlift and squat at the same time. The SPUD Inc. Ukrainian deadlift rig is designed to be home gym friendly with an extra long loading strap with an attachment point at 12 and 20 inches, so you can stack weights to the ceiling if you want or pull from a super low position with a short attachment point. The Ukrainian deadlift rig comes with a 20-inch straight bar handle with rotating center attachment point to make it more versatile and difficult. You can stand on plyo boxes, bumpers, blocks, or anything raised up to do this primal movement. Check out the Cold War Puller online at spud-ink-straps.com. Today's show is also brought to you by Lifting Large. Attention all strength athletes. Tanner,
Attention.
we know what's coming here.
Yep.
Lifting Large is announcing the return of their Get Sponsored Like a Pro contest. 3 lucky female and 3 lucky male athletes will each receive gift certificates totaling $750 to spend on the Lifting Large website. That is a whole lot of ground lock deadlifts.
It's a lot of ground lock deadlift.
Never gets old. In addition, each winner will receive Lifting Large gear and lots of other goodies. The contest is open to any strength athlete anywhere in the world, and the sponsorship term will be from February 1st through December 31st, 2021. The contest is coming up here, so the winners will be chosen around the 31st of January, and the deadline is January 13th, so get on it. You do not want to wait. And just to know who's going to be qualified, who they're going to pick, it's not based solely on your strength. It's also based on your desire to excel and promote the strength sport that you are a part of. The winners will be determined on their ability and willingness to represent Lifting Large for the year of 2021 as well. To enter, visit liftinglarge.com and click on the 2021 sponsorship contest button in their navigation. This episode is also brought to you by Hybrid Performance Method. If you've been training without a coach and have been looking for a competitive edge, remember to check out hybridperformancemethod.com. Hybrid has 15 different strength and fitness programs covering everything from powerlifting and strongman to gymnastics and general fitness, all included in one training membership. That's not all. Hybrid also offers one-on-one personalized nutrition coaching that uses lifestyle habits and a flexible approach to shape your nutrition plan around your current lifestyle instead of turning your lifestyle upside down in order to support unsustainable habits that only work in the short run the way most programs do. If you're ready to take your training, nutrition, or both to the next level, use code MASS in all caps for 5% off membership to all programs for the life of your membership. Today's show is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. Buddy Capps first started lifting weights in the late 60s and began powerlifting in the mid-70s. At the time, he was working for Image Barbell building gym equipment. Around 1976, a local machine shop started making Olympic bars for them, calling it the Image Bar. In 1977, Image Barbell became Champion Barbell. It was then that Buddy started looking at the bars with an intent of changing them for the better. In 1979, Buddy bought his first lathe to begin addressing the known issues. In 1980, his passion, drive, and purpose now had a greater mission. Buddy set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he'd ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house with the best knurling and was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, world, and Massenomics powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. To learn more about Texas Power Bars and buy one of their legendary bars, visit texaspowerbars.com.
Excellent. Now, is it time for our special guest, Greg Nuckols?
I believe it is.
All right.
Should we get the old...
Get the old audio machine fired up here. We're ringing. Let's hope we get something.
We might have to stall Tanner.
Have we still ever had someone?
Hello?
Greg, is this you?
Yeah, how's it going?
Good, Greg. You're on the Massenomics podcast with Tanner and Tommy. We're excited to have you on.
What's up, Greg?
Oh, not too much. How are you guys?
We're great. Good. Even better now that you're here. And usually when we kick it off, I like to give a little quick bio for our guests, for anyone that's unfamiliar. So here's what I put together for you, Greg. Here's a list of everything you've ever accomplished in your life. You are...
Oh, God.
You are the temporary guest host of the Stronger by Science podcast. And
that about does it.
Almost. There's one other thing. And you have been featured in a Massenomics rookie card. End of list. Is that pretty good?
Yeah, I cannot think of anything else. Oh, I finished sixth in a class geography bee in fourth grade. So I'd put that pretty high on my list of accomplishments too.
I feel like you've been holding out on that one, actually.
Yeah, wow.
I would put that first.
I mean, I don't mean to flex that hard.
Yeah. Greg, what would you put out at there as your little couple minute elevator speech or spiel about what you do and what you do in the strength community?
Let's see. I lift weights, and I describe myself to people who haven't met me as a professional blogger, and I think that about covers it.
You know, the thing about saying that is it's most people have kind of an idea what a blog is. And then if you add the word professional in front of it, they're like, I guess it's ambiguous enough. He must know what he's talking about. I won't ask any more questions.
No, so it's funny actually. So when Eric Trexler came to work with us a couple of years ago, he had just finished his PhD, and people were expecting him to get a tenure track faculty job,
right.
I lured him to the dark side. And when people asked him what he did, he said he was an assistant blogger, and people got super confused about it.
It's like, oh, that's why you have your PhD?
You didn't have to go to school to do that.
No follow-up questions. I just don't understand.
You would be pretty surprised at how competitive the assistant blogger job market is these days. It's very cutthroat.
You did bring up a good point, though. There, we do enjoy one thing you put out through Stronger by Science is your podcast, and we do really enjoy that show that you do with Eric Helms.
I will pass that along. I'll gesture to him. I'll say, Eric Helms, I understand you're getting up there in age. Put in your hearing aid. I have something exciting to tell you. And he'll be tickled pink.
Excellent. We figured Eric Helms would like that. No, we do like your podcast, and something we're going to operate under the assumption that you're not real familiar with the Massenomics podcast. We've been around for about 250 episodes, and if someone was familiar with the Stronger by Science podcast and they were interested in getting into ours, the way I would explain it to them is that, you know what those guys talk about when they're not talking about anything intelligent, for those moments in the show when you're just maybe going off on pure tangents and your less intelligent portions. That's kind of what this is like. Only that portion. If you took away all of the,
we don't have the intelligent part at all.
Right. We
don't even make an attempt at it.
Right.
No, that sounds perfect. That's I think that's slowly what we're morphing into. We initially thought like, oh yeah, we know things. We can put out a high quality episode like every week, and then we realized like, oh, we actually don't know that many things. Let's go every other week. And now we're still going every other week, but the portion of the show that's just made up of bits and goofs and gags is just slowly expanding over time. So yeah, I think actually you guys are the trailblazers, and soon we will have a Massenomics clone podcast.
Right. We would be honored. What I would say, like, to be a little bit serious about it, though, that you put out very intellectual information, but in a really digestible way, if that makes sense. That extremely informative, but yet also in a way that I'm not bored listening to it, like I might be if I was going through other avenues. So that's actually that was our main intention. Because neither of us listen to any fitness podcasts, mostly because they do tend to, well, I assume most of them are kind of boring, just because like I've been on enough podcasts and I've been asked the same general set of questions enough times that I'm just like, oh, okay. Like if
don't say any of those questions,
like
because
we're going to get to all those.
We'll get to those questions. Right. You can't use them all right now.
Just don't ask me if people should squat high bar or low bar. I will immediately hang up.
Well, okay, I don't know where we're going from here.
We have a lot of conventional versus sumo deadlift questions in the pipeline, though. So
Oh God.
And you did mention an important fact. You do also lift weights yourself. Competed in powerlifting and quite strong. And I've noticed in your training now things seem to be getting stronger and going stronger. Got a hell of a squat going, it looks like.
Working on it, man.
Yeah.
I set out some goals for myself probably like 10 years ago. And I'm just hell bent on ticking those off so I can do something else with my training.
Yeah. So we talked about you being strong and being smart. So I want to know which one of these better describes you. Which of these is a better description for Greg Nuckols? The strongest smart guy in strength sports or the smartest strong guy in strength sports?
I don't know, really. Probably neither. So smart is. I think both of those are like kind of like wishy-washy terms,
right?
Because I mean, like, how do you define who is a strong person or not? So I mean, like, and how do you define who is a smart person or not? Like, I'm sure there are. I'm not just sure of this. I am positive of this. There are plenty of people way stronger than me in strength sports. And I haven't met everyone in strength sports, but I know people who are smarter than me, and I assume there are a lot more. So yeah, I would say neither.
All right. We'll give you a pass.
Yeah.
We'll give you a pass on that one then. Talking about the smart thing, you know, when I think Greg Nuckols, I think science stuff and charts and confusing things.
Statistics.
Statistics and things that don't involve it. Just going to the gym and lifting weights. What's something that you think, like, if you could pick one like principle or concept that every lifter should understand to make their training, their training time more enjoyable, better, just better training. Could you narrow it down to one thing, one principle or concept that you think people should understand?
I think more than anything, just the value of troubleshooting. I think a lot of people get way too hung up planning too much on the front end. And they're like, okay, if I consume enough information and synthesize enough, I can come up with the perfect training program that will maximize results and blah, blah, blah. And like, that's not really how it works. So, I mean, any source of information you get is generally going to be talking about things that are better or worse on average. And there are many, many ways that everyone differs from the average in some way, shape, or form. So I think that, like, ultimately the most valuable thing you can learn is just how to troubleshoot. So come up with a plan that's good enough on the front end, and basically be able to collect feedback and make changes based on that feedback, until eventually, like, what you're doing probably doesn't look all that similar to where you started, but you've just made little tweaks over time to make your training more effective for yourself. So I think just the value of being good at troubleshooting probably outweighs just about anything else, other than just not being afraid of hard work.
Yeah.
So work hard and maybe don't be afraid to change things up once in a while then, huh?
Don't be afraid to change things up, but also, like, have reasons for it.
Right.
So, you know, don't just change things willy-nilly, but, you know, track your training, see how it's going. If it's going well, don't change anything. If it's not going well, you know, try something else, make notes of how that goes. If it goes pretty well, like, keep that in your back pocket. Like, you know, maybe when you plateau and try something else, and then you plateau again and you're like, okay, what's something else to try? Like, you have these ideas in your back pocket that have worked well for you previously. So, you know, just iterate and experiment over time and figure out what works well for you.
Problem with that sounds like a really long game approach, and we were hoping to get just really strong right away.
Yeah, I wanted like the one quick tip to like add massive mass to my body.
Oh, dude, up the dose, lift the most.
Yes.
There we go. That's something we can
as
work
written
with.
in scripture. I've got a very important supplement question for you. How do you pronounce this word? And I'm going to spell it rather than say it and bias you one way or the other. Creatine.
I say a creatine. I think it can also be pronounced creatine. I don't think it really matters all that much.
I feel like I grew up only ever hearing people say creatine, and like within the last 5 years, I feel like it's one of those words, and you correct me if this is completely off base, that sometimes people want to feel smarter, so they will pronounce words in a different way, and they will, and even though everyone said creatine for a long time, all of a sudden it became that changed.
Creatine.
Yeah, creatine. What's your take on that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't like it. I'm getting old enough that I'm fearful of change. So I grew up saying creatine. My grandpappy grew up saying creatine. In my household, we say Merry Christmas and we say creatine. But other people with their alternative lifestyles and alternative pronunciation, they can do what they want. Just don't do it around my kids.
Okay. That I can take comfort in that answer there.
That's fair. This I just thought of this as you were explaining that answer. On your podcast, you and Eric Helms have been known for taking a pretty hard stances when it comes to marijuana.
Oh God.
We are from the Massenomics crew is from Western Northeast South Dakota, and our state just recently voted to legalize both medical and recreational marijuana.
Did you really?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Both at the same time. Yes.
But
Western Northeast South Dakota got legal weed before North Carolina.
we've had our there's a lot of people suing the government right now to try and overturn that. We don't want to give the citizens too much liberty here.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. So is that your take? I mean, would this be the end of our state as we know it?
Oh, 100%. No, so actually being serious, one of the things that brings me the most joy with the Stronger by Science podcast is that bit. Because like when we do our sarcasm, I feel like we lay it on pretty thick. But every time we have a virulently anti-marijuana bit in the podcast, someone always thinks we're being serious, and they leave us a very, very vicious iTunes review. And that's the funniest shit. Like we keep coming back to that bit because I require the high that I get from those 1-star iTunes reviews. It's the best.
The thing about it, though, when you guys are being sarcastic and facetious on your show, you have a way of doing it of doing it so dry that to me it's hilarious and I love it and I get it, but I can see how if someone just
catches you for the first time,
that they're just like don't get it.
What did I jump into here? I'll hit unsubscribe.
But that's what makes it great.
That's why we do it the way we do, and we've started trying to make our sarcasm more and more obvious to see like how far we can push it and someone still take it seriously. And thus far we still haven't found the limit.
Yeah. So how do you enjoy the podcasting? You guys have been at it and consistent for a long time. And prior to that, Stronger by Science, I guess you could explain Mass for a while. I mean, that's been around much longer than, say, the podcast, as far as I understand it. So how would you compare those two different formats? And do you enjoy the podcast now that you've been at it for this long?
So doing the podcast is really fun. Both of them. So there are pros and cons to both. So the pro is that doing the podcast and doing Mass every month forces me to put content out. Like I can't just say, I haven't really been getting into anything. I have writer's block, whatever. Like it forces me to get out content every single month. So that's good. The thing I don't like about it is both of those things cut into article writing time. And that's, I think, what I like the most because I can just like really, really dive into a subject and get into the nitty gritty. So yeah, there are pros and cons. The actual recording process is really fun. Cause I think like most of it is, so we'll have an outline and basically like there is, a set amount of information we want to cover and we want to get through, but probably at least 2 or 3 times per show. Eric just tries to see if like he can make me crack up. And I do the same to him. And it's funny when it works, and it's, I think, even funnier when it doesn't work. So in the last episode,
He's like, I don't get it. What are you trying to do?
Yeah. So in the last episode, Eric had a thing he was talking about fish oil. I was like, oh my God, when he brings up EPA, I'm going to just make like a little remark about like referencing how libertarians want to abolish the EPA, which, like that's not a huge joke, but it's like, it's like a little reference.
Yeah.
And when I did it, like he was just 100% fish oil brained at the time. And he just had no idea what he was talking about or what I was talking about. And I think it made for some good audio content. I don't know. Maybe it didn't. I enjoyed it though.
I mean, that's like 50% of podcasting is you got to have fun with what you're talking about, right?
Right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, this is switch gears slightly, about average to savage 2.0. So, when you, brought that out here, I don't know if it's still the case, you can correct me or explain this. It's at the time when I got it, it was just whatever you wanted to pay for it, you could pay for it, which is kind of a cool concept. And I think even if maybe you could just pay $1 or $0, even if you wanted to, and you could still get it from you. I did get it then, and I can't remember, I paid something fair for it because I was just interested in it and wanted to read up on it. I haven't actually done it yet myself, but I wanted to get my hands on it and look through it. Really liked it. So we have Massenomics Gym, which is a small little club, kind of powerlifting strength gym that we have. And a few of our members people are always asking about programming all the time. And I mentioned average to savage 2.0 to a couple of them. I can't really say that right now, but so we've had 3 people run it consistently for a couple times through now. One of the guys, he just finished up his first go at it, and he went from a 370 pound 1 rep max squat to doing 410 for a set of 3. So he had enormous squat progress. His bench went from a 280 1 rep max to he did a 285 by 2 at the end. So he improved there. And his deadlift, he added, I think he had 5 sets of 1 at the end, and it was like a 10-pound PR that he actually did for 5 sets of 1 that day. So he made great progress using your program.
Nice. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've had a couple others that have really enjoyed it too. And for those that don't know about it, a couple of highlights of the program, I would say, is the regulation that it builds in. How if you're having a crap day, you don't feel like the whole program has just gone to shambles and you're like, where do I go from here? I didn't hit my prescribed numbers. You can live with yourself and live with that. And also the alternative, if you're doing great, it accounts for that and can progress going forward. So that was just kind of my thoughts I wanted to get out there on average to savage.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's so starting with the pricing thing, when we launched it, it was $5, but you could pay more if you wanted to. And we've since bumped it up to 10, but you can pay more if you want to. And the reason we priced it so cheap is just, like, I don't know. There's a part of me that, so I'm 29. And so like, it wasn't that long ago that I was like in school and super broke. And back then, like when people would put out training programs, they were like 20, maybe $30. And you know, at the time, like on a student budget, that was still like a stretch, but I was like, okay, like I can save for a little bit and afford that. And like, you know, the most expensive stuff out there that you'd see was like maybe $50, give or take. And these days, like when I see programs, most of them are like starting point is around 50 and I see them up to like 150, 200, which like, so I understand just from like an economics perspective, like the fair value of a thing is at least theoretically whatever people are willing to pay for it. So like if people are willing to pay those numbers, like who am I to say it's unfair?
Right.
But to me, like it just seems like bullshit. Because like I still remember so vividly a time when, you know, a $70 or much less like than $150 program would just be like a completely insane number to me. And so, you know, like I wanted something that was good that I could put out there that would be affordable to virtually anyone. And the other thing as well is like, so I understand, again, just like from a pure business perspective, generally you can like maximize sales, like maximize revenue if you can sell something that's more expensive to like a more affluent audience. But like looking at our audience statistics, like we have a lot of people in India and we have a lot of people in Southeast Asia that consume our content. And like they would message me on Instagram and be like, hey, like I want to support you, but like I just can't afford to subscribe to mass. Like our currency isn't that valuable. Like incomes in our country can't support that. And so, I mean, like those people aren't able to afford a $50 to $150 program. Like that's absurd. So, you know, essentially if you're trying to put something out there, you know, not just to make money, but also to help people, if you price it too high, like you're cutting like probably like 2/3 of the world's population out of the potential for like people who could benefit from it. And so like, you know, on one hand, you could say like, okay, that's what like free programs are for and like free content. But, you know, like generally the free programs out there aren't, you know, they're generally like pretty pre-made cookie cutter stuff. And so, you know, I wanted something out there on the market that was good that anyone could afford. So yeah, and then as far as as far as all of the auto regulation things in the program go,
yeah,
a lot of that was based on coaching actually. So I like to, so biggest thing is I don't trust myself. There would be so many times where, you know, like, you know, this wouldn't happen for like every client every week, but it happened enough that it annoyed me where, you know, basically based on someone's RPE or like based on the number of sets someone completed, like I had these rules in my head where it was like, okay, if someone completes this many sets, I know that like this weight wasn't quite challenging enough for them. So like I want to bump their training max up. And then like, you know, I'm just doing client updates and occasionally I would make mistakes. And so like, I don't trust myself to do things like that perfectly, but I do trust myself to write really good if-then statements in Excel. And so I just wrote all of these like little rules where, you know, based on what was filled out in the spreadsheet, it would make the appropriate adjustments every time. And so like I wrote all of those things for my clients, like for the spreadsheets I would send my clients, just so like when I was making load updates, I wouldn't fuck anything up. And so since I had all of those little snippets there, I was like, well, okay, like now it's not all that hard to put together like generalized auto-regulated programs with a whole bunch of different cool auto-regulation rules that people can, you know, just kind of plug and play with to let people have auto-regulated programs where they don't have to think too hard. Because I think that's one of the things that turns people off of auto-regulation. They're like, okay, like I'm going to the gym to lift. I don't want to have to think that hard. So basically you can decide on the front end what kind of flavor of auto-regulation you want to go with. And then the spreadsheet will do all of that stuff for you. And, you know, you can just go lift and enjoy your workout.
I think you did hit on one of the keys there, at least in my experience. Like when I go to the gym, I don't want to think. I want to know, like, I just want someone or something to tell me what to do. And I just go lift it and don't think about it. Like, and I think having that is really one of the keys to making a program successful for someone.
Oh, 100%. I think a lot of people assume that I think about my own training way more than I do. But no, for me, like I write programs where, I don't have to look at my phone. I just have like written down like the exercises I'm doing and some rep goals I'm shooting for. And that's it. I don't want to rate my own RPE after every set.
Right.
Like I don't want to use a bar speed tracker and like, make load decisions based on that. And if people do, that's perfectly fine. And in fact, it's probably good. I just don't want to do that. And I feel like most people don't either.
Yeah, that's a really high level of commitment once you're getting there.
Yeah, and you said how you're good at the working the Excel. You're able to do the if then statements in Excel, and you have this all set up now. It's funny with the people that are running average to savage in the gym. We say they have a week coming up. They performed well on their bench press, so next week it moves up, and they've got a 300 for a set of 6, and they're nervous about it. And I say, well, Coach Greg knows what he's doing. You just have to trust Coach Greg. So we have this thing where it's Coach Greg, just because we have this Excel spreadsheet. It's like you're physically coaching them along the way. So the coach,
I'll take it, man.
Yeah, the Coach Greg thing is kind of a running bit now.
Oh man, that's funny.
So I have another question. This is a question I had about the program. If I'm going to run it, say I'm going to start the program next week, and I'm familiar with reps in reserve and RPE. Like you said, there's a few different ways to go about that. I think the third choice is the final set is typically an AMRAP set, and that's how you judge it, by the number of reps completed on that AMRAP set. Which one would you generally most strongly recommend to someone for trying the first time? Which of those versions?
So it's interesting actually, because the version that I personally thought when I launched it was the best version is kind of like what I think it's called in the instruction document, like the original version.
Right.
So in that one, basically, you go in, you know what weight you're lifting, you know how many reps you're doing per set, and there's a RPE cutoff or a reps in reserve cutoff. And so basically, like, if it says like, do 400 for sets of 4, you just do sets of 4 until you hit the reps in reserve cutoff. So like, let's say that's 3. Once a set starts getting pretty hard, you just ask yourself like, do I think I could have done 4 more reps? Probably not. Okay, I have 3 reps in reserve. I'm done. And I liked that method for a couple of reasons. So one of the reasons was kind of theoretical. Basically, I think that training volume is really important. And with that method of auto-regulation, your daily volume auto-regulates basically based on your performance day to day. So days that you're not feeling particularly great, you're not performing particularly well, you end up doing fewer sets. And if you do few enough, it bumps your training max down, because that might be an indication that it had crept too high. In days you're feeling really good, you end up doing more sets, completing more volume, getting in more practice with your competition lifts, all good things. And if you get enough, it bumps your training max up, because that's an indication that maybe the weight's not quite heavy enough and you need to progress. So I like that just on a theoretical basis, and on a practical basis, all of the methods of auto-regulation that are there, like in the program bundle, are basically things I progress through with my clients. And that has ended up being the version that has produced the most success with the people I've coached. So, I was like, theoretically, this is the best version, and just practically based on what I've seen with my clients, this is the best version. But, maybe people won't like that, because since the number of sets you're doing is a variable, you don't know when you go to the gym, like,
Right.
People who maybe only have an hour to lift, maybe your workout's going to be 45 minutes, maybe it's going to be 2 hours. Like a lot of people don't like that uncertainty. So I added the other versions in, basically just for people who like that sense of control over how long their sessions are going to be. But I didn't think they were quite as good. Again, based on theoretical reasons and also just practically what I'd seen with my clients. What I was surprised to find out is actually based on results that have come in, the version where you do a set to failure on all of your like core and auxiliary lifts every single time is actually tending to produce the best results. And so like based on my experience with clients, that general approach worked pretty well for a bit, and then just kind of started running people into the ground.
Right.
But I think it's generally working pretty well for people, because I think that a lot of people just kind of suck with rating RPE or reps in reserve.
Yep.
And I think that there's some degree of path dependency here, because like when I got into powerlifting, so like most people at the time still kind of had like a bodybuilding background, and the ones that didn't, like, you know, still you were generally recommended to do a fair bit of like quote unquote bodybuilding style accessory work for everything. And also like Westside was really big. So, you know, people were doing a lot of 1 rep maxes and 3 rep maxes all the time. And so basically like when I learned about RPE, I felt really good about it, because like I knew what failure felt like, because I had failed a lot. And so, you know, if someone says like, do a set and stop 2 reps shy of failure, I've done enough sets to failure that I had a really good idea of what 2 reps shy of failure felt like. And now I think that there's like a new crop of lifters that have come up with like RPE and reps in reserve being kind of dominant ideas floating around in the ether, that they haven't really trained to failure enough to use reps in reserve well. And I've seen this with a fair amount of clients, where, you know, like they say like, okay, like I'm like most of my training up to this point, I've used RPE or reps in reserve, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you like that? We'll go with that. And then like I would ask for videos for key sets that they would do, and I'd watch the video, and they'd say that it was an RPE 8, and I'd look at it and be like, look, unless you just have the most bizarre fatigue curve I've ever seen, you did not have 2 reps in reserve.
Yeah.
Like that was not an RPE 8.
Yeah.
And then like the next week I'd program them the same weight and say, take a set to failure. And like, you know, maybe they did a triple at 8 RPE, and then on the set to failure, they get like 9. I'm like, okay, that was not an RPE 8. That was an RPE 4.
Yeah.
And so I think like, you know, obviously not everyone is like that, but I think that there are a fair number of people who basically stop everything way farther from failure than they realize. And just like, at least for a time, just having a dose of doing a lot of stuff to failure, one, can't be that bad unless you just end up way overdoing it. And since there are program deloads, like I'm not giving you enough rope to hang yourself too hard.
Right.
If it does end up being too much. And I mean, it's hard work. It's getting people accustomed to feeling what failure feels like. And then after that, if they want to go use a RPE or reps in reserve approach, I think they'll then be able to do that a lot more productively, because they'll have a better benchmark for what failure feels like.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. As an anecdote for the guys at Massenomics Gym that have been running it, the one that version they've been enjoying the most is what you said at the end of your last set, where you finish with a max rep set. And the feedback I've heard from most of them is that they don't like judging the RPE, and this just takes that out of the equation for them, you know, because they know how to do a max rep set, and there's there's not much room for error there, and they just like that part of it.
Yeah, I mean that checks out, and I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Well, I'll let them know that's what Coach Greg said. So
They got the go ahead.
Well, so another thing I'll say about that is I think that a lot of people hear that, and they hear like, oh, you're going to failure on multiple lifts every single week.
Right.
And they just think like that has to be way too much. But the thing is, like, it's one set for each exercise. So in practical terms, there's like 10 core or auxiliary lifts. Like there's squat, bench, deadlift, and then 2 like close variation squat movements, 2 close variation bench movements, 1 close variation overhead press. I forgot overhead press. It's in the program too. I forget about it because I always remove it. I hate overhead press. And 1 close variation deadlift. So there's 10 like core lifts you're doing per week. So like basically over a training week, you're doing 10 sets to failure, and only 3 for each general movement pattern. So like, you're going to failure frequently, like in terms of number of sessions that have failure sets per week. But in terms of the total number of sets to failure you're doing, like it's not that many. And it's also like definitely not that many on a per movement pattern basis. So like it's not as tough to recover from as I think a lot of people would assume it would be.
Yeah. And I think that is how it plays out in actual practice too. Kind of supports that from what I've seen. I've got one other training related question. Then we have our overrated, underrated game that we have to have you play that will fill you in more on here soon. But there was one other training thing I wanted to make sure to ask, and it has to do with, in powerlifting, people will conventionally, their training, there will be a volume block or a hypertrophy block that you start off with. And a lot of times the old set rep scheme would be 4 sets of 10, 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 8, something like that, of each particular movement. And it seems like what you move more towards rather than 4 sets of 10 is getting the additional volume through additional sets rather than high rep sets. So maybe you're doing 7 or 8 sets and never doing more than, I'm making up a number, 5 or 6 reps. Is that generally what you move towards, and what is the logic behind that?
Well, so there is a hypertrophy program in the bundle, and that does have you doing more reps per set and
Okay.
being closer to failure every single set. I do think that's, at least in my opinion, the best practical way to approach hypertrophy training.
Okay.
So the earlier blocks of the strength programs in that bundle, they do what you're saying. So you might be in kind of like the classical hypertrophy range in terms of like intensity, but instead of taking every set within 2 or 3 reps to failure and only doing like 3 or 4 sets, you are doing fewer reps per set, but a lot more of them, at least in like the quote unquote original version of the program. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One is, so I view, so in my opinion, like all powerlifting training, ideally, unless you just absolutely need a 100% pure hypertrophy block, should keep you pretty good at powerlifting. And so with lower rep sets and more of them, basically like all of them can still be pretty crisp, right? So, if you're doing a set of 10, like the first 5 will be good, and then like maybe form will start getting a little bit iffier as you get closer to failure. So like you're basically isolating it to just the crisp reps.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing, so like one, you're not doing much, if any, like low quality practice. It should all be high quality practice. Another thing is I have found when powerlifters make too big of a stylistic shift too quickly. So, like let's say you're doing a training cycle leading up to a meet or leading up to a testing day, and you're just doing a heavy diet of doubles and triples because you're really getting prepared to test your max. And then you're like, okay, I tested it. It went well. It went poorly. Doesn't really matter. Okay, like now it's all season time. Let's do some hypertrophy work. I found that when people go from the really heavy, highly specific stuff to like something that looks like a bodybuilding program overnight, they tend to get a lot of overuse injuries, just because like it's a huge change in training style, and it's way more. It's a different type of stress than they've been exposed to recently, and it's a lot of it. So I find that sticking with rep ranges that people are a little bit more familiar with tends to cut down on that a little bit. And the last thing is like I don't necessarily think that is the ideal way to train for hypertrophy, but I think it still works. So basically, I'm looking for a way to keep people in good shape for powerlifting, like with training that at any point, if they wanted to hit a heavy single, they'd be within 90-95% of their best. So they're staying in shape and in practice for powerlifting, but it is still going to cause a non-negligible amount of hypertrophy. Like I think that basically the method I hit on works pretty well for that. So I definitely wouldn't claim that it is the ideal way to train for powerlifting, but based on the constraints I'm working with of trying to keep someone in a relatively well-trained state for the sport of powerlifting, I think it works well enough.
Right on. Well, that's way more training than we actually typically talk about on our podcast, but there was just a few things I was really excited to ask you about. So
a lot of good info there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I came on to bullshit.
Yeah.
I have quite frankly been surprised and not in a good way so far.
Well, we're going to make that a change for a better. Tommy, do you think we're ready for overrated, underrated?
I think we're ready. The real question is Greg ready?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, Greg. So here's how the game works. It's called overrated, underrated. You can probably figure out mostly how it goes from there, but even if you can't, you're lucky there are rules that we have in place. These are special Greg Nuckols topics that we've hand selected today. And you have your druthers, how you choose to answer each one. It's not necessarily lightning round. We say the questions come lightning round, but the answers don't have to be. You have your druthers for how long or how short you want to answer, but you do have to land on either overrated or underrated. You cannot ride the line between and say that anything is appropriately rated. That's probably the key part here. Is that the highlights, Tommy?
I think so.
Okay, so are you ready to play?
Yeah, this sounds like a game of hot takes, and I'm all about hot takes.
And the other probably I left it out, the most important thing to keep in mind, your entire guest podcast performance rides on the outcome of this game.
I mean, if this goes bad, we
Yeah.
might not publish this. This could ruin it.
I could not be more ready.
Okay, at stake there are typically what we award people are JD Power and Associates awards and Cool Beans. So that's what we got writing on this.
Ooh, I live in a Better Business Bureau household. But I can make an exception for old JD this time.
Okay, excellent. It sounds like we're all on the same page here then. So, topic number 1 of overrated or underrated. Overrated or underrated? The Great British Baking Show.
Oh man, that's good. I would
I knew you'd like it.
I would say overrated. So I think that the early seasons were appropriately rated, but it seems like people still love it. They're still very obsessed with it. There was a lot of drama this season. A fan favorite baker did not make the final, and people were very mad about it. They were they were actually sending death threats to one of the people who did make the finals over this fan favorite who they thought didn't deserve it. So like it's something that people are still very obsessed with and passionate about. And I gotta say, after Mel and Sue and Mary left, it just doesn't have the same magic. It is way overrated at this point.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. It does have quite the following, though. For anyone that's not, it's on Netflix. First of all, for anyone that hasn't seen it, and Greg, you are very into baking, from what I understand. I'm not personally, but I do get caught up in that show. I do not know. I don't know anything about baking, but it is an intriguing show, I would say, especially.
It's compelling television.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And there's something about the reality television, and I think it's just British people, where they're so much nicer than what I associate with a lot of American reality television.
You know what I think the secret ingredient is?
No, I want to know.
There's not a cash prize. Like you
right.
The only thing you get for winning is the pride of knowing you won.
Yeah.
And these days, like, it's big enough that like you're probably going to get a book deal for like a cookbook, and you might make some media appearances. But you know, there's not like $1 million to the winner or something like that. So it's very antithetical to every American conception of like a game show or a reality show. But I think it makes for much chiller vibes overall.
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting concept because that essentially doesn't exist in America, where you have a game show with no real prize at the end.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the closest thing was probably Who's Line. And I think that's one of the reasons people loved it. Like they were just on there to be entertaining. Like, like Brian and Colin weren't. Yeah, they weren't like trying to ruin the other one's bit in order to win the prize. Like it was just good vibes all around.
Yeah, I like how you threw in that secret ingredient pun in that too. The secret ingredient.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Would you, if you were to be judged by Paul Hollywood? What is it? Hollywood? Is it Paul Hollywood? Is that his name? The steely blue-eyed guy? Okay. Would you ever feel like punching him in the face if he got a little overcritical of you?
Probably not. I don't know. So here, one thing I learned about Paul that has not allowed me to see him the same way since is like in the early seasons, they make a big deal about how big and burly he is. Like Sue would always call him like "you big gorilla, you" or something like that.
Yeah.
Dude's like 5'6", 5'7", which like,
that doesn't count.
Not to hate on manlets. Like manlets are people too. But the thing is, like, unless you have like serious like fight training, I'm not going to be intimidated by you if you're like 5'6".
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just not.
Yeah.
So I think if anything, I would have a harder time just taking him seriously.
That's
like
true.
he'd say something mean, I'd be like, it's all right there, little guy. Like he'll be fine.
Yeah. I think it works in his favor that a lot of some of the others on the show are like 5 foot even. There's been some of the shortest people I've seen in television on this show before.
No, yeah, that's what got me. That's why it took me so long to realize how short he was. I just assumed everyone else on the show
was
like normal height, and so he was probably like 5'10", 5'11". But like everyone else, like all of the other judges and like hosts there in the early seasons were very, very. They were very tiny people.
I think
so,
one of the ladies was 4'11", maybe even.
It's that British nutrition hasn't quite caught up.
I think that's one of the hosts that replaced Mel and Sue.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yes.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, good answer. Overrated or underrated? Microsoft Excel.
Oh man. That's tough. I would say the answer to that question is context dependent, but I'm going to come in hot and say overrated. When I say Excel, it's kind of like when people say Kleenex, but they're just talking about any brand of tissue paper that you might blow your nose on.
Yep.
I'm actually like a Google Sheets ride or die, and there are some functions in Excel that you can't do in Google Sheets. But I have to use those so rarely that I just don't care. And like, dude, Excel these days takes up so much fucking RAM. It's ridiculous.
It's a monster of a program.
Dude, it acts like it's a fucking video processing program, which is ridiculous. It's a spreadsheet.
Yeah, we get to see white boxes on the screen.
It's doing. Yeah, how does it take up that many computer resources? So like one, it's a resource hog, which is all the reason I need to not use it most of the time. And two, Microsoft's like online, like their version of Google Drive, basically, like where you can share and edit documents collaboratively, fucking sucks. It's terrible. Yeah. And so, for making programs for clients where like I want to be able to work in the same sheet as them and not have to email different versions of a single Excel file back and forth. Google Sheets is so much better. So I think Excel definitely has many applications that Google Sheets can't match in some certain contexts, but for the vast majority of general spreadsheet users and specifically like spreadsheet users in the fitness space, Google Sheets does everything you need to do. And in terms of like the actual joy of using it and sharing it with people, so much better than Excel. So Excel, mad overrated.
Would you consider yourself an Excel wizard? Like, do you have to Google like functions and things, or do you have all of the ones that you need to know down?
So I don't know. I would say I'm an above average Excel user. There are a lot of functions that I actually don't know and don't use that often. So I actually updated the program spreadsheets not that long ago to make them more lightweight by using the HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP functions, which I didn't know about. I just 100% used if-then statements. Like I think one of the reasons I like spreadsheets is I like logic problems. Where like, you know, if I have all of the inputs somewhere in the spreadsheet, I can use the perfect set of if-then statements to make it do whatever I want to. So like, dude, I just use a shit ton of if-then statements, which I know is like a very small fraction of what a good spreadsheet program can do. But like, that's most of my spreadsheet usage, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, if-then statements to the point where you put your cursor in there and start scrolling over. You can like hold down the arrow key and you're like, wow, when do I get to the end of this formula?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right, that's good. I wasn't aware that Excel was that large of a program like that.
It's
I guess
just Microsoft in general, just like Word. It's a word processor, and somehow it's
yeah,
this,
Word too. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Word won't crash my computer the same way Excel will, but like if I have 3 Word documents open, my computer's done. And like, you know, I'm not like a PC gamer. I don't have a top of the line computer, but like it's okay. It's 2 years old and it was decent when I bought it new. So like, dude, I remember the golden age of word processing. The version of Word that came with Windows 95 was perfect. It had all of the important fonts. It had Arial. It had Times New Roman. I don't think it had Helvetica yet. That's an oversight, but
probably had wingdings.
It probably would have gotten it eventually. It had wingdings. That's what I was getting to. So, you know, if you wanted to send a secret code to someone, you could do it in wingdings. And like, yeah, all you did was fucking type. That's all you need to do. If you're trying to do something beyond word processing, you're going to use Microsoft Publisher anyways, or not be a loser who uses Microsoft Publisher and use Adobe InDesign. Yeah. So like Word should be a lightweight program. At this point, honestly, like I use Google Docs because of course I do. But if you don't want to use like an online thing, the Open Office version, like their word processor, works a million times better than Word does. It does everything you want it to and doesn't just fucking destroy your program or destroy your computer every time you open a new document. So yeah, fuck Microsoft Word, open document, good stuff. The Google version, good. Microsoft Word, fucking terrible.
Well, Tommy, we can probably kiss that Microsoft sponsorship we've been after for so long, but
dude, I have strong opinions about Microsoft Office. It's terrible. It's so bad.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you could make an argument that a company that has unlimited resources should be better than that.
Dude, so I don't know anything about programming per se. Not just per se. I don't know anything about programming. But like, dude,
no, the per se was good. I didn't keep that in there.
They have to like, their code has to be so massively unoptimized to run so poorly and take so many resources, while also not doing that much that other much more lightweight programs don't do. Like it's baffling to me how it can suck so bad.
Yeah, I don't really get it. I've heard the argument like in the defense of Excel. I've heard people say that like because it's been around since the 80s, that there's just bugs and functions in it that like businesses rely on to this day to know that it has to work that way. So there's just all these legacy things that they can't change because it would just make whole businesses just collapse.
Implode.
Yeah. So I've heard like that's why that does that. But like Word, it's like I've never heard of people doing like functions and calculations in Word. It seems like just clean that up because there's all these apps that are doing that now way better than they are.
Yeah, it's a word processor. That's the one that is just truly, completely baffling to me.
Yeah. No, that's good. Okay, overrated or underrated? Pin squats.
Pin squats. I'll say underrated for a couple of reasons. One, I don't see that many people doing them, period. So my assumption is that they're generally rated quite poorly.
Right.
And I think they're good. Just simply on the fact that they're rarely done, and I think they're fine. They are inherently underrated. The other thing I'll say is doing pin squats connects you to one of the most underrated strength legacies out there, and that is the strength legacy of Bud.
Oh,
I was going to say Bud Jeffries.
Oh, Bud Jeffries, also a friend of the we have had Bud Jeffries on the podcast before. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yes,
dude. So I remember when I was first getting into lifting, like multiply was still the biggest game in town, and all of the lifters I trained with in the original crew I trained with, they were all multiply lifters. And like that seemed like a lot of trouble to me. And also like I was like 14 and my parents didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars on gear that I was going to outgrow anyways. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this raw thing. No one does it. Everyone hates it. You know, if you're a raw person and you go on Powerlifting Watch or Outlaws, everyone's going to shit on you, but like, whatever, like I'm going to try to make this whole raw lifting thing work. And so like, you know, all of the big name lifters at the time were competing either multiply for the untested dudes or in single ply for like USAPL, IPF stuff. And there really weren't that many like inspirational raw lifters. And then one day on YouTube, I just happened to come across Bud Jeffries doing an 1,000-pound pin squat to like full depth, starting from the bottom.
Yeah.
And that was at the time the most just mind-bending thing I had ever seen someone do with a barbell. And I think that's one of the things that like kept me motivated enough to continue sticking with raw. It's like, dude, this guy's a fucking monster. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to be like Bud Jeffries, and I'll never be like Bud Jeffries. There's only one Bud Jeffries.
Nobody will ever be like Bud Jeffries. Yeah.
But yeah, so simply the fact that probably Bud's most well-known feat of strength is a pin squat. Every time you do pin squats, a piece of the soul of Bud Jeffries' strength legacy resides in you, and that inherently makes him a very valuable lift.
A piece of a Florida squat rack in the grass is blessed upon your soul.
Yeah. Bud. Yeah, the Gillinghams do also utilize quite a few pin squats as well. Is another connection there. But yes, Bud, great choice. And I would say, as a note, that's how you play underrated, overrated. How you analyze that in the first portion of that question is a part that a lot of people miss. You actually, we're not just saying, do I like this or dislike this? You are looking at
in the public domain, how it's perceived.
Right. That is an important part that a lot of people miss. Okay, that's good. Last topic then, and this one is kind of worth all the marbles, overrated or underrated. Bill Nye, the science guy.
Oh, Bill Nye. This one's hard because I don't know what his normal rating is out there. So, because I mean, there are people to whom Bill Nye is still basically God. He's an omniscient being that taught them everything they know about science when they were like 7 years old, and continues to not miss every time he says something publicly. And there's also like another group of people who now hate him.
You're right. That's been the one that maybe surprises me is the number of people that like hate Bill Nye.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know how Bill Nye is rated in the first place. I would say actually, so I would say Bill Nye is underrated for maybe like a slightly uncommon reason. So one of the things that annoys me about like popular science communicators is that they often come across as like kind of dickish, like overly confident, like bloviating blowhards. And the main person I have in mind right now is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
But also like Richard Dawkins is that way. I feel like Jordan Peterson is that way. Just people who seem to be way too confident about way too many things. And it's just like, dude, if Neil deGrasse Tyson wants to be like way overconfident about astrophysics, sure, dude, go for it. You're a fucking astrophysicist. I'm going to assume when you say something, it's right. And you have every right to be as confident as you want to be. But like, I don't know, dude. He, like some of his takes on Twitter are far too hot and like far too confident about things that are like way outside the realm that he's actually an expert in. And similar with like the other people I mentioned. And the thing with Bill Nye is I think that like, partially because he's not like actually an expert in any particular field of science, I think he still has like some degree of humility. His background's in engineering, I believe.
Well, and he's not really in academia like those other guys, right?
Yeah. And so I remember this was a couple years ago at this point. He said something disparaging about philosophy. I'm pretty sure, like that's just, you know, people like dicking around asking like why we're here and like you should actually learn science. And some people like put him in his place. They're like, no, dude, like, so a classic thing is like if someone's like philosophy's pointless, you say like why, and then whatever they start saying, you can say like, okay, now you're doing philosophy, and they're like, oh shit. So anyway, like
mind blown.
And also another thing I'll add is like, if you care about science at all, philosophy of science is like a very, very important thing that you should at least have your feet wet in and know a little bit about. So basically like Bill Nye said something fairly ignorant about philosophy and like some people put him in his place. And the next time he did an interview, like he brought that up and he's like, oh yeah, I was completely wrong. I've started reading more philosophy. It's actually good shit. I fucked up. And the thing is like, I don't see that level of humility from people who are like very, very public, like intellectuals or like science popularizers. And that was a very, very cool move in my book. So I would say Bill Nye is underrated for that reason.
That's good.
That's some solid logic on the Bill Nye rating.
What do you think, Tommy? So that wrapped it up. Do you think he passed?
I think he did. I think he did in fact pass.
Okay, that's good. We usually break it down more after you're off the show, so you'll have to listen to see what we really said about it once you're off.
The critical review will be coming behind closed doors.
We do it behind your back because it's awkward otherwise. But so you'll have to listen for that. But yeah, Greg, that kind of wraps up what we had. Where if people want to follow you or Mass or Stronger by Science, where does everyone do all of that at?
So if you want to follow the Stronger by Science podcast that I am occasionally a temporary guest co-host on, you can find that at sbspod.com or the Stronger by Science YouTube channel. If you want to follow me on Facebook, it's just Greg Nuckols. Same thing with Instagram, same thing with Twitter. Really, I'm probably most active on Instagram these days as like a personal platform. And if you want to interact with me about something like lifting related, probably the best thing to do is to join the Stronger by Science community Facebook group. I'm pretty active in there. So yeah, those would probably be the main places.
Cool. All right, awesome. Well, we're pulling for you to get that permanent host status at some point in time on the podcast, and tell Mr. Helms we said hi.
Oh, can I make a quick plug?
Yes. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyone listening, hundreds, thousands of you, blow up Eric Trexler's inbox on Instagram, Facebook, email if you can find it, anywhere where you can contact him. I need literally thousands of you to make his inbox a living hell, telling him to make me the permanent co-host on the Stronger by Science podcast. So please do that.
Well, everyone, you heard him. That's your job. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Greg. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
Yes. Thanks for having me on.
All right,
This was
see you
a
later.
blast.
Yeah, great. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
What do you think, Tommy?
Oh,
Does he get the cool?
I mean,
does he get the
I think we're gonna.
He got
There
the
it
cool
is.
beans.
He got it.
Both of them. He earned both of them.
He did. He worked for him.
That was a long one.
Yeah.
That was longer than we usually go.
That was.
Yeah.
You get him going. I mean, he knows his stuff. It takes a
He
long
does.
time to get all that information out.
He does. He's much, much smarter than us, isn't he?
Just like hearing that stuff makes me realize, like, I know so little about the intricacies of
It is funny
the
how you
actual
can
science and the principles behind strength training.
Right. It is funny how you can realize how little you know.
Yeah. I go to the gym and live. And I still think that I know more than a lot of people that I know.
That's a good point too. That's actually a very solid point too, where eons beyond people you see just spin their wheels for years and decades.
periods of time,
yeah. And then you talk to people that you're like, wow, I don't know what's going on at all, do I? But no, that's cool.
Perspective, Tanner.
Yeah, you gotta have it.
That's what they call it.
Yeah. So you did mention something about World's Strongest Man.
It's getting pretty late though. Maybe that waits.
Is
till
that a
next week.
teaser?
This is an official World's Strongest Man teaser.
Okay, great. I bet it's exciting news too.
Very exciting.
But everyone's going to have to wait for episode 249 to
And
find
then
out.
also hope that we remember to talk about it.
Yeah. I would say one thing, podcast reviews. We are on the road to 300, and we are at now 280. So we are getting so very close to 300.
Is getting up there.
I'm going to read two really quick. First one is The Best, and it's from Malachiankrum. It says, simply the best podcast about I don't know what in western northeast South Dakota. Very true. The next one is from Big Black Steve. And Big Black Steve says, cool beans. Type that out. With everything going on right now and being able to have the long conversations between sets with everything going on now and not being able to have the long conversations between sets with people at the gym, it's great being able to listen to these gym conversations. The best lifting podcast about nothing from central, western, northeast, South Dakota, listening from Aberdeen, New Jersey. Looking forward to the upcoming episodes on how to get strong, stay strong, and use my strength. When you listen to this show, you'll be chuckling through your nose periodically throughout the whole episode. 5 JD Power and Associates.
Did you know there's an Aberdeen, New Jersey?
No, maybe he's just full of it.
Aberdeen, Maryland, isn't there?
That sounds right.
Well, I guess we don't know enough to disprove him, so we'll have to go with it.
Guess we'll just take your word for it. Hope you're not bullshitting us. Should we wrap up with some ads here, Tommy?
I think so.
Okay. Today's episode was brought to you by Hybrid Performance Method. They're your one-stop shop for all things fitness and online coaching, whether your goals are training related, nutrition and body composition related, or both. Hybrid has a program for you. They have dedicated and experienced coaches in each strength and fitness discipline, and you can rest assured that you're in the best hands possible. We've got a discount code with them that you can utilize. It's MASS, M-A-S-S in all caps. And that is save you 5% off any training or nutrition memberships for the entire life of your membership. Visit them at hybridperformancemethod.com. And this episode is brought to you by Texas Power Bars. In 1980, Buddy Cap set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he had ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house with the best knurling, and it was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, and world powerlifting records have been set and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. Probably work great for pin squats too.
I think
which
it would,
Greg says
it
they're
would do
underrated.
well,
So
very well at that.
yes, visit them at texaspowerbars.com. And today's show is brought to you by Lifting Large. Lifting Large has set a new standard for customer service within the strength world. They have live website chat support and speedy email responses. Lifting Large is home to the ground lock deadlift slipper, which would be great for pin squats.
It would be.
We've got a discount code over there. It's MASS20, 20% on all Lifting Large branded products. And probably more importantly right now for Lifting Large, they've got their, is contest the right word?
We'll use that word, yeah.
What you talked about, go on their website and check it out. There's still time to get signed up. You got like a week or two left to get signed up.
Get sponsored like a pro.
Yeah, sponsored like a pro. There you go. And today's episode is brought to you by SPUD Inc., of course. The goal of SPUD Inc. straps is to make products that support sports performance and help everyone achieve their training goals. They make products that last forever, won't bust your budget, and most importantly, leave no doubt about success when everything is on the line. Make sure to check them out online at spud-ink-straps.com. Leave us a review so we get to that 300 mark. Like us on Facebook, I suppose. Subscribe on YouTube. We have been pumping out these much better, higher quality videos, so make sure to subscribe on YouTube.
Take a peek at what we got going on.
Yep, you can watch these there. What else? You can sign up for our newsletter and products. I should mention products. We're going to have a big kind of drop release.
You're going to want to pay
soon.
attention because probably this week. If by the time you're hearing this,
about that, did we?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, by the time this week comes, we have a lot of. We have new stuff coming.
We have new stuff. Yeah,
we really did put that off to the very end.
Yeah, but so it's not going to drop at the beginning. It's going to come out later this week. So be on the lookout later this week.
It could possibly be
next week.
One thing we're waiting on. It could possibly be the next week, but we do have a pretty major restock coming on a lot of things. The big one that a lot of people want is the kind of fit, kind of fat is coming back.
Yep.
This will probably be it for that one.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people signed up for the in-stock notifications. It'll probably last longer than 5 hours like it did the last time.
But I
don't know if it'll last a day though.
No. And lift shorts are coming back in stock for the first time in quite a while, especially in like XL and 2XL sizes. Yeah, we have all sizes finally back in decent stock, but they are going to sell fast because of how long we've been out of stock and how many people are signed up. What I'm saying though is get signed up on the website if there's something you want. Utilize the signing up for back in stock emails because we do send those out prior to letting the masses know.
Yep.
You will get first at least notification that things are back in stock. So sign up for that on our website. You go to each product and select your size, and then you can, if it's out of stock, you can sign up to be notified by email when we say it's back in stock.
Yep. Otherwise, we got some new drinkware coming.
Yeah,
some
it's very
new apparel.
cool. We've got a new lower body item that can't probably say too much about at this point in time, but there is a new lower body item coming, and people get pretty excited about our lower body items.
Our lower body items have been known to not stay in stock very long.
And these do not go past your knees. These ones that are coming in, this lower body item.
You do the math there and what that means.
It is something we've never done before. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be a very limited product, something similar to what we've done in the past of a limited product where there will be certificates of authenticity at stake on this one.
That's how you know it's the real deal.
Yeah. And sign up to become a supporting member of the podcast if you want to.
Yeah. Massenomics.com/join.
Yep. There's the different levels there. A lot of people have been signing up. It's been very cool. I would say we greatly appreciate everyone that signs up to become a supporting member. It's really cool. Each one of those that comes in is very cool. And I'm not going to name drop, but there are very cool people that are supporting members.
Some pretty noteworthy people in that group. So
let's just say you'd hear of them. You've heard their names before.
If we threw them out there, you'd be surprised.
Yep. So you can be like them, become a friend of the podcast, and sign up. That's about it. Tommy, where do they find you on Instagram?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can find me at Tanner_Baird, but just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.